December 26, 1943, the Barents Sea, 200 miles north of Norway. It's pitch black at 8:45 in the morning. This far north, in the dead of Arctic winter, the sun won't rise at all today. On the bridge of the British cruiser Belfast, a radar operator watches a single dot crawl across his screen. It's 14 miles away, and it's getting closer. There's only one ship out here it could be. The Scharnhorst, 32,000 tons, 9 11-inch guns, the fastest and most dangerous big warship the German Navy has left, has come out to hunt a convoy. 39 merchant ships are strung out across these waters, carrying tanks and aircraft to the Soviet Union. Scharnhorst's orders are simple: find them, scatter them, sink them. What Scharnhorst's captain doesn't know is that the convoy was bait. The British have been reading German naval codes for months. Waiting 100 miles to the southwest, closing fast, is the battleship Duke of York, with 10 14-inch guns and something Scharnhorst doesn't have: working, reliable gunnery radar. By nightfall, one of the two ships will be at the bottom of the sea. Nearly 2,000 men will die in water that kills in minutes, and a warship that had already sunk an aircraft carrier, sunk a cruiser, run the length of the English Channel under the noses of the entire Royal Air Force, and set a world record for the longest-range naval gun hit in history, will fire its guns for the last time. To understand how Scharnhorst ended up alone in the dark on Boxing Day 1943, you have to go back to what made her so dangerous in the first place. Scharnhorst was built starting in 1935, breaking the limits Germany had agreed to after World War I, officially a battleship. In practice, something closer to a battlecruiser, 9 11-inch guns instead of the huge 15-inch guns carried by her British rivals, but able to hit over 31 knots, faster than almost anything that could actually hurt her. The trade-off was deliberate. Germany couldn't win a straight gunfight with the Royal Navy, so Scharnhorst and her sister ship Gneisenau were built to do something else: outrun what they couldn't outgun, and outgun what they couldn't outrun. At just over 38,000 tons fully loaded, heavily armoured, and able to hit 31 knots, nothing with bigger guns could catch her, and nothing faster could survive being hit by her. It worked right away. In November 1939, barely 10 months after she entered service, Scharnhorst caught the armed merchant ship Rawalpindi in the North Atlantic and sank her in under an hour. 6 months later, off the coast of Norway, she did something no other warship would do in the entire war. June 8, 1940. Scharnhorst and Gneisenau are sweeping the Norwegian Sea when lookouts spot smoke on the horizon. It's the British aircraft carrier Glorious, steaming home with a light escort, unaware she's sailing straight into two German capital ships. That's 16 miles away, so far that the German gun crews have to correct their aim for the curve of the Earth itself. Scharnhorst opens fire. Her third set of shells finds the target. One shell punches straight through the flight deck and explodes in the hangar below, setting Glorious's parked planes on fire and wrecking her chance to launch a single one in her own defense. It is to this day one of the longest range hits ever scored on a moving ship in naval history, a shell fired from over 15 miles away, hitting a ship doing 17 knots. By January 1941, Scharnhorst and Gneisenau are ready for something bigger than a single ambush. A planned hunting trip deep into the Atlantic shipping lanes, led by Admiral Günther Lütjens, the same officer who will later lead the battleship Bismarck to her own end just months on. The two ships slip out of the German port of Kiel, dodge a British fleet sent to catch them near Iceland, and slide into the North Atlantic through a gap further north instead. For the next 2 months they roam between Newfoundland and West Africa hunting convoys. Twice they find one, and twice they pull back the moment they spot an escorting British battleship nearby, because Lütjens has one rule above all others: two ships this valuable do not risk a fair fight with anything that can hit back. Instead, they pick off the ships sailing alone or without an escort, freighters, tankers, ships that fell behind their convoy. By the time the raid ends in March 1941, Scharnhorst and Gneisenau have sunk or captured 22 Allied cargo ships without taking a single hit in return, and slipped into the French port of Brest before the Royal Navy ever lays eyes on them. It's the most successful raid of its kind in the whole war. And it's also the start of their downfall, because now both ships are sitting in occupied France, within reach of every British bomber base across the Channel. By early 1942, Scharnhorst and Gneisenau are bottled up in the French port of Brest, a constant target for British bombers. Hitler wants them home, in Norway, where they can threaten the Arctic convoys instead of sitting in a harbour waiting to be sunk at anchor. The plan is bold to the point of reckless. Sail 2 big warships and a heavy cruiser straight up the English Channel in broad daylight, past the most heavily guarded coastline in the world. The plan works. Bad weather, jammed British radar, and sheer nerve get the German ships past the coastal guns at Dover, past torpedo boats, past a rushed and messy air attack. The famous Channel Dash. British bombers and warships throw everything they have at the German ships as they run for home, and almost none of it lands. It's a huge embarrassment for the Royal Navy and a British public that had been told this was impossible. There are angry questions asked in Parliament about how 3 major warships could sail right past England's own coast in daylight and get away with it. Scharnhorst even hits a mine along the way and keeps going anyway, making it home under her own power. She's in Norway now, which is exactly where she'll stay, mostly idle, occasionally raiding, always watched, for the next 20 months, until Christmas Day, 1943, when Berlin finally orders her out one more time. The German admiral in command, Erich Bay, doesn't want to go. The weather reports are terrible. Huge waves, almost no visibility, conditions where his escort ships will struggle to even stay together. He says as much. Berlin orders him out anyway. What Bay doesn't know is that British codebreakers have already read the plan. 2 forces are closing in on him from different directions. A group of cruisers under Vice Admiral Robert Burnett, following from the north, and the battleship Duke of York under Admiral Bruce Fraser, coming in from the southwest with 10 14-inch guns and radar that actually works in the dark and the fog. At 8:45 a.m. on the 26th, Belfast's radar finds Scharnhorst first. Through the winter darkness, British cruisers open fire and score early hits, knocking out Scharnhorst's own radar. B turns away, tries to shake off his pursuers, tries again for the convoy, gets driven off a second time, and only then realizes the British have been steering him all day, straight toward Duke of York. At 4:17 in the afternoon, full dark this far north, Duke of York's radar locks on at 22 miles. 20 minutes later, her searchlights snap on, and her 14-inch guns open fire almost point blank in gunnery terms. Scharnhorst, radar blind, is caught completely by surprise. For a ship that had spent 4 years living off the advantage of striking first, from range, before the enemy even knew she was there, it's the one nightmare scenario she was never built to survive. Scharnhorst turns hard and tries to run, and on raw speed she can still do it. She's faster than Duke of York, faster than the cruisers, faster than anything chasing her. For a while it looks like she might actually pull away into the dark and live to fight another day. But a 14-inch shell finds her boiler room, and her speed collapses from 30 knots to barely 10. The one advantage that had defined her entire career, outrunning what she couldn't outfight, is suddenly gone. What follows is close to 2 hours of a wounded ship being systematically destroyed. Duke of York keeps pounding her from range. British cruisers close in from the other side, and then 4 destroyers move in for the kill, running the gauntlet of Scharnhorst's remaining guns to loose their torpedoes point blank. 5 of them find their mark. At around 7:45 p.m., in near total darkness, Scharnhorst finally rolls over and goes down. No British ship even sees her sink. All they can see is a dull red glow through the smoke and spray, and then nothing. Of a crew of nearly 2,000 men, only 36 are pulled alive from water cold enough to kill in minutes. Neither the admiral nor the captain is among them. Scharnhorst was, by every practical measure, an extraordinary warship, faster than anything that outgunned her, hitting harder at longer range than almost anyone thought possible, slipping past the entire Royal Navy in broad daylight when the smart money said she couldn't. For 4 years she was one of the most feared names in naval warfare, and in the end, none of it mattered, because the one thing she never had was radar that worked when it counted. On June 8, 1940, that same advantage of surprise and range let her put a shell through an aircraft carrier's flight deck from 15 miles out. On December 26, 1943, in the same kind of Arctic dark, it was the other side that had it, and Scharnhorst never even saw the shot that killed her coming. Admiral Fraser said it best to his own officers, hours after the guns fell silent, that if any of them were ever ordered to fight a battle against impossible odds, he hoped they'd fight it as gallantly as Scharnhorst had fought hers. It's a remarkable thing for the winning admiral to say about the ship he'd just sent to the bottom. And it's also, in its own way, the whole story. Scharnhorst was never sunk because she was outclassed. She was sunk because, for the first time in her career, the advantage of seeing without being seen belonged to somebody else. For more than 50 years, nobody knew exactly where Scharnhorst lay. The Barents Sea in winter is one of the most hostile survey environments on Earth, and the battle had scattered wreckage and bodies across miles of open water in total darkness. It wasn't until the year 2000 that a Norwegian survey team, searching the seabed for potential oil and gas fields, stumbled onto something far larger than a rock formation nearly 1,000 feet down. What they found was a ship lying upside down, her hull split by the explosions that finally killed her, resting almost exactly where the last British shell had found her decades before. There was no salvage, no recovery, just confirmation, at last, of where those nearly 2,000 men had ended up. To this day it remains an official war grave, and Norwegian and German authorities alike ask that it stay undisturbed. 16 miles, 260 seconds of flight time. That's how far and how long it took one shell, fired blind into the dark by a ship with no radar of her own, to end the career of one of the most dangerous warships ever built.